Hi folks, I'm Dr. Ed Beyer. Today we're going to talk about leaky gut, autoimmunity, and the vagus nerve. Now I've done some videos on how the barrier between the inside of our body and the inside of our gut, when it breaks down, that's called leaky gut syndrome or increased intestinal permeability, how that is the gateway to autoimmunity. I'm going to talk today on how a very important nerve, which starts in the lower part of our brainstem, the medulla, called the vagus nerve, is a major a player when it comes to gut health. So the vagus nerve comes from our lower brainstem and it goes down and it controls a lot of stuff in our gut. It controls swallowing and our gag reflexes. So if you have issues with if someone has issues with swallowing or snoring, or they gag too easily or they don't gag at all, that's a sign of the vagus nerve not working very well. It helps produce stomach acids. If you have GERD or acid reflux or bloating after you eat, that's a sign of poor vagus function. Liver, gallbladder function, motility of the gut. If you have diarrhea or especially constipation, it could be due to poor vagal function. Pancreatic function, the enzymes in the pancreas are controlled by the parasympathetics from the vagus nerve. Spleen, gut immunity, and this is the one I want to talk about today. Blood flow to the gut is controlled by the vagus nerve coming from our brain into our gut. So what happens is if our vagus nerve is not functioning, then you're going to get poor blood flow to the gut lining. When someone doesn't have proper gut flow to the gut lining, that's going to cause a breakdown of the gut lining. And when the gut lining breaks down, that's called leaky gut syndrome. And it's like having holes in your screen door on a hot summer day, and things are going to start to make their way through the leaky gut barrier, and that's going to trigger autoimmunity and any immune problem like allergies and eczema and psoriasis and sinus problems and many things. So when the gut barrier breaks down, certain proteins are going to be broken down called occludin and zonulin. And these proteins then, when they leak down into the bloodstream from the broken down gut barrier, our immune system is going to start to form antibodies against them. Or immunoglobulins, means the same thing, antibodies and immunoglobulins. We can test for this. This is how we test for leaky gut and the severity of leaky gut and what type of leaky gut. So we check for occludin and zonulin antibodies. If they're elevated, then we know this individual has leaky gut. And we also talked in a previous video on how when the gut barrier breaks down and you have antibodies to occludin and zonulin in the gut, your immune system is going to form antibodies to occludin and zonulin in the blood-brain barrier, and that leads to leaky blood-brain barrier, and that can lead to a bunch of neurological disorders. But poor vagus nerve function is really what it leads to all of this, and that's one of many reasons for leaky gut. Some other symptoms of poor vagus nerve function: dry eyes and dry mouth, snoring, sleep apnea, no gag or excessive gag reflex. So on the exam, I'll touch the back of the tongue. If they gag right away, or if you brush your teeth and you almost want to throw up, that's a poor vagus nerve. Problems with swallowing. We have people, they'll swallow and the food will get caught in their throat, or they can't take supplements because they can't swallow them. Gastroparesis, which is a condition where the stomach isn't contracting, very serious condition. GERD and acid reflux. Folks, GERD and acid reflux are almost never from too much acid. You have too little acid in the stomach, so the food doesn't get broken down. It sits there too long, and the acids you do have, the little acid you do have, get pushed upward. So almost all GERD and acid reflux is from too little acid, causing bloating and reflux of the little bit of acid you have. And then what's the medical solution? Put you on a medication that lowers acid even further, making the problem worse. It'll give you symptomatic relief because it gets rid of the acids in your esophagus, but it makes the whole problem even worse. That's why they tell you don't go on those medications for more than 14 days. Some other symptoms of poor vagal function: heart palpitations. I see a lot of that clinically. High or even low blood pressure. Many of my patients, when we improve vagal tone, they get off their hypertensive drugs pretty quickly. Constipation, diarrhea, and really any digestive symptom can result when the vagus nerve is not innervating the gut very well. Poor vagus nerve function can be detected on a neurological exam and corrected through functional neurology. I have 32 ways of stimulating the vagus nerve, and I usually give 2 or 3 or 4 to my patients who have this condition. so that their digestive function works better. I'm Dr. Ed Beyer. Hope that helps. Have a great day.